Yeah, thanks, Carla. Howdy.
Howdy.
Oh, that won't do it all. Let's try that again. Howdy.
Howdy.
There we go. Thank you very much. See, now it feels like I'm in a hometown crowd. This is nice. Well, look, I want to just start off by saying this to answer your question. I'm here with you today at this panel on the 186th anniversary of the fall of the Alamo. And, while Pee Wee Herman may remember the Alamo a little bit cliche, understand for Texans and really for all lovers of independence, it should hold a special place. Because there will be people that will tell you that the Battle of the Alamo was about many things, but I will tell you from the words of Colonel Travis himself, who said this. He said that, let the convention therefore go on and make a declaration of independence, and then the world will know and my men will know what we are fighting for. For if a declaration is not made, then my men are willing to lay down their arms and surrender. But under the flag of independence, we are willing to peril our lives 1,000 times. You see, independence is worth fighting for. Yes. And whether that's independence in Texas, or whether that's independence in New Hampshire, or frankly, any place in the world, the right of self-government and self-determination is absolutely worth fighting and dying for. But it's also worth living for. And so, it's one of the reasons that I'm here today with you to shake the hands of the state representatives here who had the intestinal fortitude and the backbone to support letting the people of New Hampshire vote on their independence. Look, here's the bottom line. I've been at this for 25 years, and you get pounded with every criticism, every question, like what's going to happen to my favorite major league sports team. So I'm gonna make a confession to you, is I got tired of answering all those little minutia questions a long time ago. So what I started doing was this. I started asking people, say, look, why don't you answer my question? If Texas was currently a self-governing independent nation among nations, we had control over our own immigration and border policy, we had our own monetary system, our own military, our own foreign policy, our own embassy, our passports, we had our own dadgum Olympic team. Right? We were a self-governing independent nation in every respect. And instead of talking about Texas, we were talking about whether or not Texas should join the Union. Knowing everything you know about the federal government right now, would you vote to join the Union? And if the answer is no, if you would not vote to join, then why in the hell would you ever vote to stay? And you would be surprised. I mean, that right there, that turn has helped us get to the point where we know for certain if we have the Texit vote tomorrow, we win. And we don't win by a razor-thin margin, we win by a lot, which is one of the reasons that the establishment guys fight so hard to give the people the vote on this issue, because they know we're going to take them to the polls and we're going to spank them because they have no argument as to why we should stay in the Union, or frankly, any state for that matter.
Wow, that's great. I love that. That is fantastic, right? Because you basically put the onus on them. You're like, who would defend anything the federal government's doing?
It's about time they answer some questions, right? They want to dismiss our ideas off of some minutia, like, well, is our major league sports team going to be in the National League? Whatever. Just always something ridiculous, right? They want to flunk the idea overall over some minutia, and it's really time that they answer the questions. Let those guys make the case for why the Union is so great. Yeah. And watch those guys squirm.
Yeah. Woo! Awesome. Yeah.
Hello. So in order to leave an abuser effectively, you need resources, plans, specifically contingency plans, and strategy. So what resources, strategies, and plans do we have in mind in order to be effective here?
Well, it's like we have to explain a lot. I mean, part of people want to know, okay, they have this view in mind that the day that we have the Texit vote, the next day there's a lot of fireworks, we're all hungover, and suddenly it's Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, right? We're all rolling around. I've got a mohawk and wearing a leather thong, and I got, I mean, that's just what they envision, right?
I'm waiting for that moment.
Well, look, $50 will get you a long way. But here's the point, and this is what we have to explain to people. Exiting is not an act. It's a process, right? Everyone focuses on the vote, but it doesn't happen immediately after the vote, right? The vote in and of itself is an expression of political will. that then we have to act upon. Because, you know, let's face it, as states, we haven't been independent in quite some time. There are a lot of processes that we have to put in place. There's some infrastructure that has to be built, but here's the good news, is that it's not insurmountable, right? For two reasons. Number one is effectively all the states are still structured like self-governing independent nations, right? We have our own constitutions, our own governments. All of those agencies, all of that infrastructure exists. So it's not that far of a jump, but here's number two, and I think it should be encouraging. If you pull out a globe and you spin it around and you put your finger on any landmass that's not Antarctica, understand that those people are self-governing independent nations that have been able to figure out every single issue that people are concerned about. So we have the expression of political will as expressed in that vote, and then we begin to act upon that, and it takes whatever time it takes. Unlike Brexit, we're not under a 2-year Article 50 clock, right? So it takes the time that it takes to get the job done and get it done right.
Hi, my name is Jeff, and my question relates to, I think it was some years ago, you heard about in Barcelona, I believe it was, they had their vote, the referendum, they said, all right, we want to be free. I forget the actual margins there, but it did go forward as, yes, we want to be free, and Spain said, no, screw you. So what is the specifics in terms of, hey, we have the vote, we want to be free, it's a land, you know, whatever. You spoke to this a little bit, but next step.
Yeah, so just really quickly on the Catalan issue, right? I mean, and just for some context, the structure there is far different than what we are. That's why I don't ever refer to what we're doing as secession. We're withdrawing our membership in a political and economic union, because that's effectively what it is. But the structure there is a little bit different, and what you had was a regional government there that wanted to push forth with it, even against the objections of the system there in Madrid, right? So that was the source of the conflict. But you know, where we're at structurally here within the United States, as states within the United States, we all absolutely enjoy the right to have this conversation. If you look at Article 1, Section 10 of the United States Constitution, it lists everything that states are forbidden from doing. Guess what's not in there? Bailing out. It's not there. Which means under the 10th Amendment, it's reserved to the states and the people. And then you look to your state constitution. And I know you guys have a strong provision to your state constitution. I wish I could quote it like I could quote Article 1, Section 2 of ours, which says that all political power is inherent in the people. And it gives us an inalienable right to alter, reform, or abolish our government in such manner as we think expedient. So this is not a mother may I proposition. The people have a legal vote on the issue, which is one of the reasons that the constitutional amendment there and the legislation on our side are super important. But it goes to a debate and a full vote of the people. And then once the people express their political will, it is the mandate upon our government to do something about it. We never ask for permission. The next time we will see those federal bastards is across a negotiating table.
All right, we're probably, we could do it fast. We can get them all in. Otherwise, we'll see how we are on time.
Lightning round. This is a very New Hampshire specific one, and I kind of sort of apologize for that. What is the future stance, like kind of looking ahead? So the bill's been there. There's going to be the roll call vote. Everyone in this room, you know, raise your hands. Hey, you know, do we have self-determination rights? The answer is of course. I think most people would say. But how much like baby with the bathwater sort of thing is there? Like how much retribution should be and will be leveled against these representatives who, like you said, I was really shocked because I you know teleconferenced into the thing, and the guy said, I forget his name, but the otherwise good representative, he said, yeah, there's a lot of good things in here, but I'm going to vote against it because blah blah. I'm like, dude, like, do we primary that guy? Like, how much is the Free State Movement willing to become a single voter block where, like, hey, we don't care that we're taking our lead from 110 Liberty representatives and we're going to primary 90 of them because they're otherwise good, but you failed on this critical issue.
So just to state, the Free State Project takes no political positions. We are a 501c3 educational nonprofit.
I apologize
Did
for
you
the
hear that,
semantic
Granite
ambiguity.
State Progress? But they're entitled to opinions. All right, 3 more minutes, Beth.
Hang on, here's maybe the one point of divergence that we have, right, of the panel up here is what we told our legislators with the Texas Independence Referendum Act, it was that very thing. Everyone who did not sign on to it would not get our support, and we would find a primary opponent for them. And the reason is quite simple. If they will not support our fundamental right of self-government, how can we trust them to support anything else that we believe in? right? If it is an inalienable right, we have to look at it just like if they voted against gun rights or our right to free speech or our right to worship according to the dictates of our conscience. Until we begin to view the right of self-government as an inalienable right, like the rest of them, they will continue down this path of further integrating us into the federal system. So maybe the one point of divergence here, but they shouldn't feel threatened. If they took an oath to support our rights, and they are truly there to protect our rights, self-government is just as important as the right to keep and bear arms or any of the other ones.
Right.
That is actually a really good point, and I think that is something that those of us who do messaging want to maybe think about that framing going forward, right? So it's like, well, we're not debating this, the right exists, and yeah. All right.
Max, real quick.
One more.
So, what do you guys see as the likely response from the federal government if one of these votes take place? I mean, obviously they're going to try to prevent it, but what tactics do you expect them to use, and what are your thoughts on countering that?
Well, look, there's really, you have to understand that for the last 75 years, the federal system has put itself in a position where it actually limits their options if a state were to leave, right? This is not the 1860s anymore, right? The world kept spinning. And the last 75 years of federal foreign policy has sent our grandfathers, grandmothers, our fathers and mothers, some of us in this room, and our sons and daughters off to fight, bleed, and die for the right of self-determination for other people. Mm-hmm. The United States has signed treaties that protect the right of self-determination, that actually encourage it. Right now, as it stands, they are sanctioning Russia, who has invaded the Ukraine, and denying them the right of self-determination. The aforementioned President P-Pads wanted to sanction Myanmar for overturning a democratically elected, a democratic election that they had, right? So they've painted themselves into a corner, which is all the more reason that it's important for us to follow process, to have the public debate, to have a legally constituted vote, because then we take a lot of options off the table. And frankly, and I know the thing nagging in the back of your mind is probably the thought of military action. And I'm going to tell you this, recent surveys have shown that over half of the United States military active duty combat troops believe that states have an absolute constitutional right to withdraw from the Union. So if they want to pull that trigger, they have to understand that half of the military will not obey that unconstitutional order. And in addition, the very threat of using military force against any state that's leaving will cause other states to leave, and they won't even bother with a vote. It will bring international condemnation, sanctions, and potentially military action against the federal government. They know this, we know this, so they fight hard to keep us from having the vote, because that's the only place they can stop it.
Wow, and on that note,